Welcome back to my movie review series. On today's episode, I will be reviewing on the 2008 20th Century Fox and Blue Sky Studios movie, and that is Horton Hears a Who. The movie is based on Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. The movie premiered on March 14, 2008. The movie airs on Fox, Disney Channel, Freeform, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, Horton the elephant, the jungle's eccentric nature teacher, hears a tiny yelp coming from a floating dust speck and gives chase to it before placing it on top of a pink clover. Horton finds out the speck harbors the city of Hoville and its inhabitants, the Hoes, led by Mayor Ned McDodd, whose family includes his wife, Sally, 96 daughters whose names all begin with the letter H, and one son, Jojo. Despite being the oldest child and next in line for the mayoral position, Jojo does not want to be the next mayor, and he does not speak due to his fear of disappointing his father. Once Horton begins carrying the speck with him, the city starts experiencing strange phenomena, like earthquakes and different changes in the weather, and the mayor finds his attempts to caution Hoville challenged by the town council, led by the opportunistic yet condescending chairman. After he makes contact with Horton, the mayor finds out from local scientist Dr. Mary Lou LaRue that Hoville will be destroyed if Horton does not find a safer home. With the help of his best friend Morton the mouse, Horton decides to place the speck atop Mount Newell, the safest place in the jungle. The head of the jungle, the sour kangaroo, who refuses to believe that the Hoes exist, demands numerous times that Horton give up the speck as she believes he's overshadowing her authority, but Horton refuses. Also taking force toward Horton are the Wickersham brothers, a group of monkeys who like to cause havoc around the jungle. Eventually, the kangaroo enlists a sinister but idiotic vulture named Vladikov to get rid of the speck by force. He initially only agrees to do it in exchange for the kangaroo's son Rudy, but when she threatens to hire the Wickersham brothers to do it, as she will probably change her mind, he eventually decides to do it for free. Now Horton and Ned both have to prove their existence and prevent a major catastrophe. The story is pretty well written, as even though it does have a few tired tropes, suffers from being easily predictable, and does have a few moments that try to be hip and cool. The way the writing is handled is pretty solid, as it does have a good amount of charm and heart to it thanks to its whimsical and light-hearted tone, as well as some pretty decent humor. And on top of that, it manages to stay true to the spirit and tone of the original Seuss book. Unlike most Seuss adaptations, the movie also has a very solid message about learning about universal values between vastly different places and people. The movie does have a solid sense of humor, as even though not all the jokes land, there are thankfully a good chunk of them that do manage to get a laugh, such as some of the witty banter and dialogue, the wacky shenanigans Horton gets into trying to protect the speck, the gags and slapstick, and some of the movie's dark humor. The movie does have a good sense of heart and charm to it, and does result in some pretty heartfelt and charming moments, such as the relationship between Ned and Jojo, the growing friendship between Horton and Ned, and a pretty touching ending. The animation is very well crafted and does really capture the iconic Seuss style. The characters all have great designs and some very fluid and lively movements. The backgrounds and settings are very well crafted and have some nice details, and there are some great effects such as the water and textures. The characters may not be anything Oscar-worthy, but they are pretty likable and do have some nice chemistry, dynamics, and development. Horton and Ned are both very solid and likable protagonists, as even though all they can do is see each other, they do help each other out quite a lot, and do have a nice dynamic, as both can be very goofy and awkward, but still have a lot of heart. Most of the supporting characters may be more on the one-note side, and are practically regulated to the background, but some of them do manage to be likable, such as Horton's best friend Morton, Ned's wife Sally and son Jojo, and the scientist, inventor Dr. LaRue. Sour Kangaroo is a solid villain, as the best way to describe her is that she's an entitled Karen, and the lengths she'll go to prove she's in the right are pretty out there, even if it means potentially killing Horton. But she does also have some funny moments. There's also Vlad, who does act as a good and funny minor villain. The voice acting is pretty solid and does result in some great performances, like Jim Carrey as Horton, Steve Carell as Ned, Carol Burnett as Kangaroo, Will Arnett as Vlad, Seth Rogen as Morton, Alla Fisher as Dr. Laru, Amy Poehler as Sally, and many more. The music by John Powell is pretty well composed and does capture the movie's light-hearted and comedic tone. Verdict: 8 out of 10. This is easily one of the best Seuss adaptations next to the original Grinch special, and the Green Eggs and Ham series, as well as easily the best theatrical adaptation of a Dr. Seuss book.